Why do we tell ourselves things like, well, I failed last time I tried to lose weight, and if I try again, I'm just going to fail too? Or maybe, since I failed last time, I'm just a complete failure and I'm worthless. It's pretty common for people to think things like this. But is there a single shred of tangible evidence to prove any statement like that true? No, there isn't, but we still think it. Our minds are excellent at creating these things called thought distortions, lies that we tell ourselves even though there's no evidence that it's true. And they often become a habit that we get stuck into thinking without even knowing it. And they're a huge barrier to what people believe about things like their ability to lose weight. But the good news is, if you take the time to name them and learn about them, well, you have the first tool you need to start breaking them down and proving them untrue. I'm John Clark with Bricanio BQ. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Mindful Eating and Weight Loss Psychology. This week, I'm talking about 14 thought distortions that are holding you back from losing weight. This is the third episode in this weekly series. Last week, I asked you to write down some of your beliefs about your ability to lose weight. With those beliefs in hand, let's take a look at these 14 different types of thought distortions and see which ones might be holding you back from achieving your goals. The first type of thought distortion is all or nothing thinking. This is when we think only in extremes. An example of this might be, I either have to eat a perfect diet or there's just no point in doing it at all. There's no room for any gray area in thoughts like that. The fact is that even if you're not perfect every single week, you can still make progress. You can challenge thoughts like this, well, I didn't follow my diet today, but I did yesterday, and I can still succeed tomorrow too. The second type of thought distortion is called filtered thinking. This is when we choose to see only the negatives in the situation and actively ignore all the positives. An example of filtered thinking might be something like, you know what, dieting is just going to make me more depressed because junk food is the only thing that gives me happiness, and if I don't have junk food, I'm not going to be happy. But this ignores all the positive effects that can have on your life by losing weight and being more healthy. A thought we can use to challenge filtered thinking is something like, if I do start to do this, maybe I'll find that I do enjoy some of the benefits. The third type of thought distortion is called justification. This is when we use a past positive decision to justify a future negative decision. Might be something like, well, I had a salad for lunch, so I can have pasta and wine and a slice of cake for dinner tonight. A thought you can use to challenge this type of thought distortion might be something like, well, I had a salad for lunch. How about I look and see how many calories I can budget for dinner? This is a part of mindful eating. We have to think about what we do before we do it. The fourth type of thought distortion is jumping to conclusions. With weight loss, this almost comes with like a mind reading type of thing, right? Like making assumptions that we know what other people think about our choices. Maybe something like, oh, if I have a salad for lunch, my coworkers are going to think I'm no fun. Well, how do you know that? You don't know what other people are thinking if you don't ask, right? I mean, maybe it's the complete opposite. Maybe they'll see you order a salad and decide, you know what, maybe I should make a more healthy decision for lunch today too. You just don't know, and so you can't jump to these conclusions and know for certain what other people are thinking. The fifth type of thought distortion is called fortune telling. It's kind of like an extreme version of jumping to conclusions. This is where we have delusional thinking about a preordained future. An example of fortune telling when it comes to weight loss might be something like, well, I got really depressed when I failed at my last diet, and if I failed this time too, I'm just going to get more depressed, and it just can't possibly be good. But we can challenge this type of thinking with saying, well, you know what, I've learned some more since then, and if I make smart decisions this time, I'll have a higher chance of succeeding. The sixth type of thought distortion is catastrophizing. Catastrophe? Yeah, I think I said that right. That's when we plague our mind with absurd what if questions and worry about them. Something like, well, what if I get hit by a bus tomorrow? What's the point of even trying a diet? Well, you know what? Risk is a part of life. but that doesn't mean that we can't try to make the most of the time that we do have. The seventh type of thought distortion are arbitrary rules. These are rules that we've made up in our mind and follow for no constructive reason, or maybe rules that we were raised with. Something like, if I don't finish all the food on my plate, I'm wasting food. Well, you can put food in a refrigerator, you can take it to go, right? I mean, this isn't really a true thing. The way to overcome arbitrary rules is to start building habits that break those nonsensical rules. You can think, it's okay if I don't finish this meal. I'll feel better if I don't overeat. Another strategy for this one is to plan out your portions before you put them on your plate. The eighth type of thought distortion we're covering today is overgeneralization. That's when we assume that past failures are going to always happen in the future in an endless cycle. The obvious one here is, well, I failed on my last day, so I'm going to fail every time I try to lose weight. You can break this thought distortion pretty easily sometimes. Think about other things you've failed at. I mean, we all learn new skills over time. We all have to start at the beginning. We all have to start somewhere. But if you apply yourself, you can learn to do things better the next time you try. The ninth type of thought distortion is called mislabeling or global labeling. This is an extreme form of overgeneralization. We take that last thought distortion of, well, I'm going to fail every time I lose weight because I failed before, and then we apply a label to ourselves of, well, because I failed, I'm worthless, or I'm useless, or I'm just a failure. Instead of saying that you had a failure, you apply that label to yourself as a personality trait. But failure isn't a personality trait. It's just something that happens sometimes. In order to break this one, you just have to celebrate one tiny success and then try to build from that success to the next one. And you'll have evidence that no, you're not a failure. You failed once. That doesn't mean that you are a failure. Before I get to these last 5 thought distortions, I want to ask you to consider subscribing if you feel like this is something that can help you achieve your goals. You'll get notified every time I have a new weekly series on these subjects. The 10th type of thought distortion is personalization. This is when we take personal offense to other people's decisions, even when none was intended. An example of personalization might be something like, oh, Mary ordered a pie for lunch when she knows I'm dieting. She's just trying to rub it in that she's skinny and I'm fat. Well, you know what? Maybe Mary just wanted pie. The 11th type of thought distortion is the fairness fallacy. This is when we resent the fortunate things that happen to others. Something like, well, you know what? Joe is just naturally skinny and he can eat whatever he wants and never gain weight. And it's just not fair. And he doesn't understand how hard it is for other people. But in reality, how well do you know Joe? Do you know all the difficult things he's gone through in his life? Well, we all have to fight our own battles. The 12th type of thought distortion we're covering is blaming. This is when we evade responsibility for our own decisions and place the blame on others. When it comes to weight loss, a common thing is, well, if the people around me would eat more healthy, then I could eat more healthy too and I could lose weight. But you know what? This comes back to personal responsibility. We have to own our reactions to situations and stresses. No one can make us feel a certain way. We have to choose actively how we decide to react to situations. And we're responsible for our own emotions. The 13th type of thought distortion are should and should not statements. This is basically when we refuse to accept a lack of control over reality. Something like, well, there shouldn't be all these fast food restaurants around to tempt me, and that's why I can't lose weight. Well, we can't always control all of our external circumstances. We can only control how we choose to react to them. This is related highly to the blaming thought distortion. Your homework for this episode is to take those beliefs that you wrote down after episode 2, take a look at this whole list of thought distortions. Don't worry, the definitions are in the description below. And really think about which ones are influencing your beliefs. But I promised you 14, right? So I want you to pay special attention to this last one while you're going through that list. The last thought distortion is emotional reasoning. This is when we place an exaggerated value on our own thoughts and feelings. Emotional reasoning is like the cherry on top of the cake that ties all these thought distortions together, because with each one, we're placing exaggeratedly high value on our emotions rather than looking at the evidence. You have to keep an open mind to look at new evidence and challenge our beliefs when that new evidence does come along. And the way that we need to start challenging these thought distortions is by actively seeking out that evidence. All it takes is one small success against any of these thought distortions to start breaking down that chain. So once you have your list of thought distortions, write down thoughts that can help you combat those distortions. The relatively simple act of naming your thought distortions, is just naming your enemy, is the first step on the path to victory. In next week's video, I'm going to be talking about how I challenged my thought distortions and the first steps I took when I decided that I wasn't going to let them rule me anymore, and how I changed that one belief that I chose back in episode 2, that my past medical problems and disabilities were dictating my future and that I could do nothing about it. So, once again, don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you want to get notified next time I have an episode in this series come out, and you want to take that next step onto building your positive mindset that will help you achieve your weight loss goals. I'm John Clark with Bracanio BQ. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Mindful Eating and Weight Loss Psychology.